Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, if you're there, to this live. So perhaps if you can see me and you can hear me, perhaps you could tell me so in the chat. That would be helpful. And here is the plan. So the plan's on the screen now for you. Can you hear me okay? Tell me in the chat. Is there anybody there? Is there anybody there? Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Good. I'm chuffed you can hear me. Good. Brilliant. And can you, hi, Marcus, can you see the screen, you two who are in the chat there? Hi, can you see the screen? Can you see my shared screen? I hope you can. Maybe, yep, brilliant. Okay, hit like a few times. Let's make sure that everything is working all right. Give me an emoji, give me a reaction. Okay, and there is the plan. Now, I'm hoping that everybody here has downloaded the paper already, but if you haven't, thank you for the likes. But if you haven't, then you can click the link in the top of the chat, download the paper. And if you would please, hi Ferdy, if you would please hit the link on the survey, which I spelt wrong, here is a link to a short survey. Then if you could fill in the survey, that would be great. And if you are in year 11, then it's really important that you fill in the survey, because then I'll have your, because one of the questions is give me your email address. You don't have to give me your email address, but if you do give me your email address, then I'll be able to send you a quick email as I plan my revision sessions leading up to this series of exams, and also in between the exams as well. So please do take a moment to fill in the survey. Okay, right, we are going to start in a few minutes. So I hope that you are ready to go. Now, I haven't done this paper before, and I haven't downloaded the mark scheme either. So we'll take it step by step, and we'll see if we can get 100%. Right, tell me if you're in the chat there. Just give me a flavor of who's here. Tell me what year you're in. Tell me if you're in year 10 or year 11. I imagine, if I was guessing, I'd guess most people will be in year 11, because I'm guessing that you are, oh, hi Gracie, good to see you. I'm guessing, hi Martha, I'm guessing that you are preparing for your exams in a couple of weeks. It's good to have some year 10s here though. Now, those of you in year 10, I'm guessing you've got exams coming up. And if you're in the top half of year 10, I imagine your exams will be pretty IGCSE paper like. Okay. So let's have a look. We've got some 11s, good. And we've got only one year 10 so far. Okay. Right, we are going to start in 3 or 4 minutes. If you know that some people would like to join us and they've forgotten, then please do. Hi Otis, good to have some year 10s with us. Please do send them a link to the stream. I think I can copy a link and put it in the chat. Here we are, close. Oh, Otis is year 11, is he? Okay. Oh no, that's the wrong chat. Which website do I use to find past paper questions? Well, I get them off the papers themselves, I guess. That's the main place I get them from. Here in the chat is a link to the live. So if you wanted to copy that link onto a WhatsApp, send it through. Okay, stick it on to whichever group you are that people might want to join us. So Otis, it's probably a good idea to know you're in year 11, because I suspect you've got exams starting soon. And if you've got history, you might have your first history on Friday, I think. Anybody had an exam already while we're waiting for others to join? Anybody had an exam already apart from French orals, stuff like that? Okay. Somebody's leaning on their like button. Right. We're going to start in 3 minutes. Oh, what have you had, Ferdy? Is this similar to AQA? Yes, there'll be the vast majority of the questions, English language tomorrow, is it, Tom? The vast majority of the questions will be very similar to AQA. There are a couple of topics on IGCSE. Crikey, I don't remember you doing Spanish. There are a couple of topics on IGCSE which won't appear on AQA. So if we come across any differentiation, then Damon, you can ignore that question, for instance. Yep, so first maths paper for you guys is the 15th of May. Drama, crikey. First maths paper is 15th of May, and then we've got almost 3 weeks until the next paper, which means that we have 3 weeks to get sorted for your paper 2. So I don't think the grade boundaries will increase at all, Tom. You can watch my grade boundaries film and hear about that. Now, what was I saying? 3 weeks between paper 1 and paper 2, which means that we can get paper 1 done, and then we can see what hasn't come up, and then we can target those topics as you prepare for paper 2, which means that everybody who's with me in between times should be able to get a higher mark on their paper 2 than they get on their paper 1. Okay? Only you know that, whether you've got enough time to revise. Okay, we're going to start in a minute or two. We've got 24 people. I must say, I did think more people would come. Perhaps they'll join as they get back from school. All right. Paper 1's the 15th. Any for the upcoming week, how to go about revising? Well, I'll tell you what, Milky, I'm not quite sure what to call you. Leave a comment asking me on one of my films and on YouTube, and then I'll see the comment and I'll reply. Okay, and when you do leave the comment, tell me what grade you're aiming for. Okay, what grade are you aiming for? In fact, it would be quite useful, please, if all 27 of you told me roughly what grade you were aiming for in the chat, so that I know. Oh, Mike. Okay, right. So 7s, 8s, 9s, tell me what grade you're aiming for, please. It doesn't matter if you're aiming for a 4. You're allowed to say you're aiming for a 4. Tell me what grade you're aiming for. And once I've got a flavour of where we all are, then I know roughly how quick I'm going. 8s and 9s. Okay. Grade 4, just want to scrape a pass. Okay, Damon, will you make sure that you don't let me go too quick on the easy questions? Sorry, on the first few questions. So Damon, for a 4, I guess you're looking at getting about 30, 40% would be safe, yeah? 7, 8. Okay. Anybody else tell me your target grade, and then we can get started. Somebody's changed their mind about their target grade. Okay. Right, I'm thinking we're going to start. All right, now I've got a bit of a weird camera set up, but I am here, even if you can't kind of see me. And we're going to start here with question 1. So I hope you're ready. Hit something. So just put a Y in the chat, please, if you're ready for yes. Just tell me you're ready. Stick a few Y's in there, and then I know I can begin. Okay. 52, 52 sounds almost a 7. Give us 1 minute. Okay, Mike, I'm going to keep on talking for a minute, but you need to be ready. Now, Mike, I can't remember what grade you were going for. I don't suppose you have to do this first question. Mike, well, you're not going for quite a high grade. So I think we might start without you. Otherwise, we're never going to finish. Okay. Right. Whenever I do any of these questions, I always underline the stuff and I always make a point of reading it carefully. This table shows some information about the hourly rates of pay of 60 workers. So I'm already thinking this needs to add to 60. And I'm looking at this table and making sure that I understand what it means before I go anywhere near the questions. So this means that 14 people earn between $20 and $25 each hour. Write down the modal class. The mode is the one you see the most. Which of these classes of pay is the most common? Answer, the one with the highest frequency, 10 to 15. An estimate for the mean hourly rate for the 60 workers. Look at that. They're even reminding you. that there are 60 workers. They really are doing their best for you. Them earn 12.5. You probably know you're going to take the midpoints here. Now, if I had two numbers and I wasn't sure what their midpoint was, I'd add them together and divide by 2. But in this case, even I can work out those midpoints. So now I'm going to, what I'm doing here is mid-mad. I'm doing the midpoints, I'm multiplying, then I'll add, then I'll divide. Mid-mad. Okay. So 12.5 times 18. I'm beginning to wish I hadn't committed to doing this kind of so live now, because now I'm having to do it. 225. 17.5 times 16. 280. 22.5. I hope you're ahead of me, by the way. I hope you're not just watching me, because in the nicest possible way, I've already passed my GCSE, well, O-level. So I don't need to be doing this, but you do need to be doing it. Right. Multiply, add. 225 plus 280 plus 315 plus 220 plus 130. I make that 1170. So the total amount paid is 1,170 divided by the number of people, 60. Now, always have a look at your answer and always check that it makes sense. 19.5. I'm beginning to think, do you think that's a bit low? But anyway, 19.5 at least is a feasible rate of pay. If you're somebody who makes the classic mistake, then you'll do 1170 divided by 5, because there are 5 classes. And if you do make that foolish mistake, sorry to call it foolish, then you get 234. Now, clearly that's not the typical rate of pay. So that's obviously a mistake. Okay, so check that your answer is reasonable. Now, nobody has told me that I've made a mistake, so I'm assuming that I haven't made a foolish error, and I'm assuming I can carry on. Hit like, please. Hit like, tell me I can carry on. Hi, Zach. If that's Zach, I know. Hit like, somebody. Can I move on? That should be easy marks for you. Should be easy 5 marks to start with. Okay? Right. Use a ruler and compasses only to construct the bisector of the angle. Right, this is going to be a bit difficult for me to show you on the screen. Put the sharp part of your compass there, draw an arc, draw an arc. Move your compass across to here, draw an arc, draw an arc. Now the 2 blue arcs must be the same length, the compass must be open the same amount, and the 2 red arcs, the compass must be open the same amount. And then draw yourself a careful line like that. And if you've done it properly, then you will have cut that angle in exactly half. A bisector, Damon, is something which cuts something exactly in half. Okay, it bisects it. You don't have to retract your question. You're very welcome to ask a question. Does anybody else have a question about number 1 or number 2? Hit yes if I can move on. Just give me a Y if I can move on, please. I'm hoping that these are easy warm-up questions, but I appreciate that some people won't find it easy. You're not ready. You're not ready. Why aren't you ready? Okay. Right. I'm thinking I'm moving on. Modal is the most common. The mode is the one you see the most. That's right. Hey, diddle, diddle, the median's the middle. Okay, the median's the middle. You add and divide for the mean. The mode is the one you see the most, and the range is the difference between. Number 3. Okay. Rules of indices. Well, I tell you what, Mike, I'm just going to put it on the screen there for 2 seconds while I ask everybody, please, about the rules of indices. What I want to know is in the chat, if you have a question like this, x to the 5, raise the power of 3, what is it that I do to these 2 numbers? What is it that I do to those 2 numbers, please? Tell me in the chat, because we're going to need that on question 3. That's right, you multiply here. Okay, so tell me, rules of indices, what would you do with these two? X to the 5 times x squared. What would you do with those? In this case, what would you do here? You'd add, and then of course, if you're going to divide, then you would subtract now. So that one would be x cubed. Great. But what about this while we're doing rules of indices? What about this? 3a squared b to the power of 4. What you're going to do there is you're going to put everything in the bracket to the power 4. 3 to the power 4. A squared, raise it to the power 4. B to the power 4. And then you work it out from there. We're probably going to get one of those. Right, so I think we've covered this. This one is p to the power of 50. Expand and simplify. It's algebra. Don't mess it up. Okay? I'm hoping you're working ahead of me. 2n times 4n, 8n squared. Sorry, I'm just going to sort this out. There we go. Right. 2n times 4n, 8n squared. 2n times 3, 6n. Plus n squared minus 4n. Now, you'll probably get a mark for that. Okay, but now we can simplify altogether. 9n squareds plus 2n's. Okay, this equation here, part C. Tell me in the chat, what am I going to do first? What am I going to do first? With any luck, you've done it already. Mike, you're quite right with that answer. With any luck, you've already done this question because I hope you've already done the paper. Okay, I'm going to multiply left and right by 3. It's going to give me 2x plus 5 equals 12 minus 3x. Multiply left and right by 3. Right. Equation with x's on both sides. See which side has the least and get rid of them. Minus 2x here. Sorry, 2x is here and minus 3x there. So minus 3 is the least. So it's going to be the easy way to do this is going to be to plus 3x to both sides. 5x plus 5 equals 12. And now, surely you're on a roll. 5x equals 7. X equals 7 over 5. Okay, I'm hoping that I haven't made a foolish error on questions 1, 2, and 3. So far, we have had 6, 7, 8. We've had 13 marks so far. Okay. Happy for me to continue? Say yes, hit like, do something. Okay. I agree that they're free marks, but that's all very well for me to say, Mike. Okay. Perhaps somebody's got a question about these. Okay. Moving on to question 4. Right. Okay. Thank you for your yeses. Thank you for your likes. List the members of set B. This is anything that is in B. It's all of these, right? 3, 7, 5, and 2. Those are all the members of B. Now, A, this sign. That means intersection. But if you want to say it in English, you would call it and. And why do I call it and? Because that looks like an N, which is the middle letter of and. So these things have to be in A and in B. Well, that's the intersection. 3 and 7. Now, what does this mean for part C? What does that mean? Tell me in the chat. I'll tell you in a minute, Gracie. Tell me in the chat what this means. That means, are you wondering how to spell complement? Right, not A, that's right, anything but A. So be careful. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to identify everything that's in A. All of that is in A, so not A is going to be everything else. 5, 2, 4, 6, 8. Right, now Gracie's asked an important question, and she says, in a Venn diagram, when do you know when to add the numbers or count the number of numbers? Now, sometimes in a Venn diagram question, it says that the Venn diagram tells you the number of members in each area. For instance, you might have a Venn diagram like this, and it might say there are 4 people there and 3 people there. So then when it says how many people in all of this set, you would say there are 7 altogether. In this case, these are just members in the set. If this was 3 people and that's 4 people, these are like the people, the number 3 and the number 7, the number 9, the number 5, and the number 2. Is that all right? Gracie, if it's not, send me an email. When you're solving Venn diagram questions, do you put the number in brackets? And if you do, you won't lose marks. You won't lose marks. You don't need to put the numbers in a bracket. Okay. All right. Moving on to number 5. Happy with number 5? How many marks so far? 13, 16 marks so far. Okay. Number 5. The diagram shows a cylinder. Yes, it does. The radius of the cylinder is 70. The height of the cylinder is 18. Now, please do this. Tick stuff off when you check it's on the diagram, because maybe they'll leave something off the diagram and you won't notice. Work out the volume of the cylinder. Give your answer in litres, correct to the nearest litre. Well, let's work out the volume of the cylinder first, shall we? The volume is going to be the area of the top multiplied by the height. The top is a circle. Look how I'm laying it out. Look, times 18, right? So pi times 70 squared, 70 times 70 times pi, and then times 18, and then s to d. Right, that gives me this on my calculator, 27708.472. And why wouldn't I write it all down? And that's in cubic centimeters. Give your answer in liters. 1,000 cubic centimeters in a liter. So 277,000 cubic centimeters is going to be 277.088472 liters. Correct to the nearest liter. 277 or 278? 277, because I'm not going to round it up. Right, okay. Right. Now, I did think twice before doing before solving this paper, but so many people have, and it's so available that I thought I would carry on. Okay, number 5. Also, of course, it tends to be the case that they are released a year after they've been sat. So this one is basically, sorry, less than a year after they've been sat. So this one is pretty soon to be released publicly. Number 6, unless anybody has a question. Does anybody have anything they want to ask? 20 marks so far. What have you got out of 20, by the way? Tell me what you've got out of 20, roughly. Okay. What have you got? Excellent, 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 excellent. Hi, Noah, good to see you. Okay, so we're feeling good about this paper so far, are we? All right. Shall we move on to question 6? Now, there are several ways of doing question 6. You could draw a Venn diagram, and you could put all the factors of A, all the factors of B, and all the factors of C in the Venn diagram. Okay? And your highest common factor would be anything in the middle there multiplied together. Maybe we should do that. If we did a Venn diagram, what would appear in the middle? A, B, C. What is there that's in all of them? Okay. For instance, is there a factor of 2 in all of them? Yeah. Is there another factor of 2 in all of them? Yeah. Is there another factor of 2 in all of them? No, because B and C only have 2 squared in them. Right. Oh, wait a minute. 5s. Right, I've done the 2s. 5s. all got 5 squared in them, right? But they haven't all got a higher power of 5. They've all got a 7 in them. Have they all got 7 squared? No. Now A's got an 11, but nothing else has. So I think I've finished now. And I think that those are the factors they have in common. So the highest common factor is 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 7. Right. Oh, look at this. It says write your answer as a product of prime factors. So there you have it. 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 7. Okay, that's a product of prime factors. You could write 2 squared times 5 squared times 7, and that would be fine. But you don't have to, because it doesn't say write your answer as a product of powers of prime factors. Okay. All right, you could do the lowest power. Yes, Mike, that's right, because the highest common factor, you choose the lowest power of each of the factors. Okay. Right, that's another 2 marks, 22. Right, happy to move on? Anybody got a question? By the way, if you were doing the lowest common multiple, which we're not, then you would choose the highest factor of each of the highest power of each of the factors. Thank you for hitting like. It looks like we're ready to move on. Number 7. Shop A and Shop B have offers for buying the same laptop. Now, I've got a colleague who, whenever there's a question like that, she gets everybody to put a line down the middle of the page, and we know we're going to be dealing with Shop A on one side of the page and Shop B on the other. And look, I've done that. I haven't read the question yet, okay, but I know I'm going to do this. The normal price of the laptop in Shop A is different to the normal price of the laptop in Shop B. Okay, fine. The normal price in Shop A is $475. Look, get 16% off our normal price. In Shop B, get 15% off and only pay that. Which shop gives more money off their normal price? Right, important. No, that's absolutely fine, Gracie, you can do that. Important. It says which shop gives more money off their normal price. So the answer to this question is either going to be Shop A or Shop B. Okay? All right. Now, let's have a look at Shop A. Shop A's normal price is $475. And they give 16% off. So I wonder how much money they give off. Well, I'm just going to work out 16% of $475, because that's how much they reduce their price by, isn't it? So Shop A gives a discount of £76. How kind. Shop B. Now, in Shop B, we're told the price after the discount. So the price after the discount is $408. And in order to work out how much money they've given off, we're going to have to work out the price before the discount. So this is a reverse percentage change. To go forwards, when you take 15% off, let's just do it clearly. If you were going forwards, you'd reduce by 15%. So you'd multiply by 0.85. So when you go backwards, you're going to go 408. And when you go back in time, you divide by what you would have multiplied by. So the original price is 408 divided by 0.85, 480. And by the way, you can check that by taking 480, knocking 15% off, and seeing if you get 408. Now, have I pressed the right buttons? No, I pressed the wrong buttons. No, I haven't. I've got that right. Okay, it looks a bit weird. I'm just going to do 0.85 times 480 and check. But oh yeah, it's fine. So the original price is 480. So what's the discount been in Shop B? The discount has been 480 minus 408. The discount has been 72. Now let's go to the question. Which shop gives more money off? Let's write an answer. shop A gives more money off. And that is my 4 marks. Happy? All right. So how many marks so far? 26 marks so far. Okay, so we're a quarter of the way through the paper. Now we started at 6 and it's not quite 6:30, and we spent 5 minutes chatting at the beginning, and I'm probably working at an okay pace, but we've done all right so far. Are you happy? Anybody got anything they want to ask? Number 8? Number 8. Okay, I can't see any questions in the chat. I'm going to carry on. Thank you for hitting like. Okay. Right, I've got to factorize this. So I know it's going to factorize into 2 brackets. Okay. I know I'm going to have x and x. I know I have to multiply to a negative. Well, that means that one must be positive and one must be negative. And I've got to end up with +5. Can you tell me what the factors are? Isn't it shop B? Wait a minute. Gracie, it says which shop gives more money off their normal price. And shop A gave 76 off their normal price, and shop B gave 72 off their normal price. So shop A gave more money off. Okay. Right. 8 and 3, they're saying, but does it matter? Is it going to be +8 or -3 or -8 and +3? The link to download the paper is right at the top of the chat. Okay, go right up to the top and you'll find it. Right, it's going to have to be +8 and -5, because no, it's not. That's nonsense. It's going to have to be +8 and -3. That gives me +5x. And if I wanted to be sure, I'd just multiply it out and check. Okay. Right, now, if you want to say +3 and -8, if you did +3 and -8, you'd end up with -5x's, and we need +5. Hence, solve this equation. Now, I'm going to do this. So hence my answer, so x equals -8 or 3. But listen, if you got this wrong, such as somebody might just have got those the wrong way around, who cares? Carry on. And okay, you'll get the wrong answer here, but you'll get the follow-through marks. Okay? And if you can't do this, which I certainly hope you could, well, just do something and then carry your something on, and at least you'll get the follow-through marks. Okay? I'll have a look at the grey boundaries at the end. Oh, I tell you what, on the YouTube channel, I have done already 2h, and I think at the end of that, I tell you what the grey boundaries were. Right, okay, solve this inequality. 3y plus 5 is greater than 7y minus 10. Now, if we were solving this as an equation, we would see which side has the least y and get rid of them. So that's exactly what we're going to do. This is an IGCSE paper, but most of the content is exactly the same as the GCSE content. 5 is greater than 4y minus 10. Now, if I was doing an equation, I'd have 5 equals 4y minus 10, and then personally, I'd turn it round to 4y minus 10 equals 5. So I'm going to swap this round, but it's going to be 4y minus 10 is less than 5. And now I can add 10 to both sides. 4y is less than 15. Y is less than 15 over 4. You could just leave it as 15 over 4 if you wanted to. Okay, or you could write that as a mixed number. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I can send the past paper link again, but it is right at the top, Mike, of the chat. And when I stop, because I'm going to have to stop for a minute soon, I'll put the link in the chat again. Okay, 3.75 would do, I'm sure. What do you do when dividing by negative? Well, Otis, when you do your exams, if you're not sure what you do it on your calculator. But if you're asking me about what I would do with an inequality when I divide by a negative, dividing by a negative would have to swap around the inequality. But because I follow the method of seeing which side has the least and getting rid of them, I never get a negative. y, so I don't have to divide by a negative. Okay. Right. 26 plus 6, 32 marks. Okay. We're a third of the way through. Anybody got anything they want to ask? All right. Number 9. Are we ready for number 9? You happy with number 9? Okay, I'm thinking that number 9 is quite straightforward, certainly part A. Give me an answer for part A in the chat. Give me an answer for part A in the chat. Give my voice a rest, please. Give me the answer for part A. Stop chatting about history and geography, Marcus. Well, those two answers, I've got 2 different answers so far. Gracie's siding with the first answer, and there's a third answer. Zach, let me just answer that question while people put their answers in the chat for the standard form question. Zach, I'm sure you are, well, I mean, I hope you're happy up to this point. 5 is greater than 4y minus 10. So that means that 4y minus 10 is less than 5, and that's where I turned it round. And then I added 10 to both sides and divided by 4, so the sign remained. Okay. I don't know what MB means, so perhaps that's just as well, Marcus. Okay. All right. So you would have lost a mark if you got the wrong answer, the answer. You know what I mean? Okay. Right, this one. It's 8.4. And then I have to divide by 10 5 times. Now, the truth is, you could probably just stick this in your calculator, couldn't you? Let's see. Could you just stick this in your calculator? 8.4 times 10 to the power of minus 5 equals S to D. Oh, it's not doing it for me. Often it does. What you've got to do is you've got to start with the 8.4. And we're going to divide by 10 5 times. The first leap goes over the 8, and then there will be 4 more leaps. So it must be that. Okay. Now this one. They've deliberately given you one here that you can't do on your calculator. Yeah, it wouldn't work on my calculator either. Right. You can't do this one on your calculator. So you have to do this. 6.5 times 10 to the minus 40 multiplied by 8 times 10 to the 185. Let's just write that in a different order. Let's write 6.5 times 8 times 10 to the minus 40 times 10 to the 185. Well, oh, 6.5, sorry, not 6.8, 6.5. Well, I can do 6.5 times 8 on my calculator. That gives me 52. Times, now, this. You just add the indices. It's like x to the power of something times x to the power of something. It's going to be 10 to the power of, add those indices, minus 40 and 185 is 145. So it's looking good. I've worked it out, but it says here, give your answer in standard form. At the moment, that's not in standard form because standard form would have 5.2, wouldn't it? Not 52. So it's going to have to be 5.2 times 10 to the power of 146, indeed, for my 2 marks there. That's 3 marks on question 9, gives me a total of 35. Happy? Shall I move on? Shall I move on? Okay. All right. Here are 2 similar triangles. I'm thinking that this one will, with any luck, be okay. Why is it 146, not 145? Right. Everybody look at the similar triangle question while I talk to Martha. Okay. Right, Martha. You had this 52 times 10 to the power 145. Right, let me zoom that up so you can see that question. Okay, Martha, I'm sure you're happy that we had this. I hope so anyway. Now, Let's just ignore that for a minute and let's do this one. 30 times 10 squared. That's 3,000, isn't it? If I wrote that as 3 times 10 to the, it would have to be 10 to the 3, wouldn't it? What I've done is I've taken a power of 10 off the 30, so I've added it onto the 10. So it's the same value, it's still 3,000. Now let's look at this one. 52 times 10 to the 145. If I want to write that as 5.2, I've divided that by 10. So if I want the same answer at the end of the day, I'll have to have an extra power of 10 there. I hope that makes sense to you. I've forgotten who asked now, and your comment's gone off. Was it Martha? It was Martha. Oh, there you are. I hope that makes sense to you, Martha. If it doesn't, send me a message and I'll help you out. Number 10, scale factors. Well, work out the value of x. Show you're working clearly. Here are two similar triangles. Oh, I was struggling for a minute because I was looking for the corresponding sides, and I was thinking that I don't know the values of the corresponding sides, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. But I've got 7.5 here. I wish I knew that, because then I could work out the scale factor, but I can work ED out by using Pythagoras. So ED will be the square root of 51 squared minus 24 squared. Okay. Square root 51 squared minus 24 squared is, ED is 45. Now I can work out that scale factor. The scale factor from small to big is 45 divided by 7.5. 6. Oh, okay, it's quite straightforward. So the big triangle has dimensions 6 times bigger than the smaller one. So in which case, to go to 24 to the x, you divide by 6. So the value of x is 24 divided by 6, 4. Okay, another 5 marks you get for that. Gosh. So 35, I've done 40 marks so far. Okay, everybody happy? Everybody happy. 4 is the answer. Good. Fine. Okay. Right. Do you understand your mistake if you got it wrong? Gracie, do you understand that one? I'm wondering what you did to get 3.53. Did you work out ED correctly? Or did you mess up your Pythagoras? Or did you... Well, I'll explain it again quickly, okay? Now, we need to work out the scale factor here, okay? We need to know how many times bigger the big one is than the smaller one. If you're going to work out the scale factor, you need to use corresponding sides. So we could compare those two sides, but we don't know this one. And we can't work it out either. We could compare these two sides, but we don't know what the x is. We could compare these two sides, but we don't know this one. But we can work it out by doing Pythagoras on here. So we work out the length of ED, and then we use that to work out the scale factor. Okay, all right, everybody, happy? Okay. If you're not sure, you can always rewind the live. I think you can rewind the live, but anyway, you can rewind the live later on. Number 11. Right. Now, can you tell me with a yes or a no, please, if you know how to use your calculator and how to use the table function? I'll answer your question in a moment about Pythagoras and trig. Tell me yes or no, please. Do you know how to use the table function on your calculator? 30, you need to find out. Okay, gosh, you do it separately for each one, Marcus. Well, that's okay, but it's a little cumbersome. No, nobody does. Somebody does. Right, why don't you use it, Gracie? Right, okay. So now I've got a few calculators in front of me. I've got the new style Casio, which looks like this, and I've got the old style Casios, okay? I'm going to do it on the old style Casio, and I'll tell you what I'm doing. But you can ignore me and you can work them out one by one if you must. Okay? Right. I suppose I ought to record a film on this really, but still, I'm going to do it on this one. I choose menu and then I find the table option. Okay? And I choose the table option. By the way, if you want to ignore me, then you can just get on with it. Okay? The new Casio is fine, Gracie. If you've got a new Casio, then you have to define the function using the f of x button. Right. I'm now going to plug in f of x. So I'm just going to plug into the calculator this formula here. So I'm going to go 2 times open bracket. And then I'm going to hit the x button. X plus, I've got to do 1 over x. So I'm going to use the fraction function, 1 over x. Now I'm going to close the bracket. And I've put in f of x. Okay, I wonder, oh look, can I show you? Almost, look at that. Is that okay? I'll get an app next time so I can do the, it's not very useful. There you go. Okay, so I've plugged in f of x. Right, press equals. You don't want to put in a g of x. Right, the start of my table. The start of my table is 0.5. The end of my table, press equals to move to the end, is 6. Now, the step, do you know what they've done? Look, they've got a step of 0.5 and then steps of 1. So they're trying to catch you out. I'm going to say that my step is 0.5. Press equals. And now I get a table that gives me all the answers. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my table on my calculator and look at one of the values they've given me and check my calculator is getting the right answer. Because if it's not, I've put my function in incorrectly. I am getting a 5 when x is 2, which means I can simply copy down the ones I need from my table. I've got some I don't need on my table because I had to put in a step of 0.5. There you go. Yeah, when you click on table, it shows f of x. That's right, and then you type in the formula. Then you type in the formula. Okay, but I think I'm going to have to do a separate film on that. You can work them out separately if you need to. Now, be careful of the scales. Before you do anything, look at the scales. Make sure you understand the scale on the y-axis and make sure you understand the scale on the x-axis. Do not mess up your coordinates. Don't mess up the scales. Right. 0.55. 0.55. 14. 25. 3 and 6.7. Now look out, squares. They're each going to be 6.7. Right, 4, careful where you put it. 10.4 for 5, careful where you put it. 2 little squares above the 10. And 6 is 12.3, be careful where you put it. It's going to go there. Right, and then you're going to join these points up with a smooth curve. My screen's just frozen. Come on, that's it. All right, here it goes. Practically perfect in every way. Okay, right. Oh, that's 4 marks. Blimey, 44 marks already. Looking good. Okay. Happy for me to move on? Happy for me to move on? Talk to me, talk to me. Yes, hello, the right path. Are you happy for me to move on, folks? Right, okay. It's very exciting that you're all talking about the number of papers, but Ferdy is happy for me to move on. Somebody's hit like. Good, thank you, Martha. Okay. Right. I am on my way to question 12. Now, there was a question earlier about when to use Pythagoras and when to use trigonometry. how to put variables in the table thing. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do a film. Okay, I'll do a film. All right, leave me a comment on this film saying, can you do a film for the table function? Okay. Right. Question 12. Now, you use Pythagoras in a right-angled triangle if you know two sides and you want to find the third. Okay, that's when you use Pythagoras. If you don't know two sides, then it's likely to be SOHCAHTOA if it's a right-angled triangle. In this case, I'm going to be using SOHCAHTOA, I reckon. So I'm writing SOHCAHTOA. IGCSE is just like GCSE. It's just got a couple of extra topics. So if you're doing GCSE, you're very welcome to be here. It's still useful to you. Okay. ABC is a right-angled triangle. D is a point on BC. Tick off the things as you read them. AB is 4250. That's marked. Angle B to A to D, 47, marked. BCA is 24. Brilliant. Work out the length of DC. It wants to know that length there. Give your answer correct to the nearest integer. Right. Now, the first thing you might think is, I don't know how to find that length. It's not part of a right-angled triangle, is it? Okay, so we can't, jump to find it straight away. If you can see the way you're going to solve this, then that's great. If you can't see the way you're going to solve it, just find anything you can, and I bet that will help you. Okay? I'm going to start by finding the length of BD, because if I draw that left-hand triangle there, then I've got a right angle here, I've got 47 here, I've got 4250 there, and I reckon I can find x. It's going to be a tan because the hypotenuse is not involved. I'm finding the opposite, so it's going to be tan times the adjacent. So x is going to be tan 47 times 4250. Okay? Make sure you change the mode of your calculator if you've just been doing the table function. 4250 times tan 47. Okay, x is 4557.567. Just write down enough digits so you don't have to worry. Why is it tan? Well, looking at this red triangle, do we agree that the hypotenuse is the one that is not involved in this exercise? Because I've got the adjacent and I want to find the opposite. So the hypotenuse is not involved. So I choose either sine, cos, or tan, but I choose the one that doesn't have an h in it. Okay? Leave me a message, send me a WhatsApp, and I will send you a film about how to choose whether it's sine, cos, or tan. Right, I've just found this length. 4557, point the rest of it. Now I'm going to do the whole triangle now. The whole triangle, it's not a very good diagram, I'll try again. The whole triangle has a whole base that I don't know. But it's got a 24-degree angle here. It's got 4250 there, and I'm going to find y. Again, which side is not involved? And so will I use sine, cos, or tan? Tell me in the chat. Which side is not involved? So will you use SOH, or TOA? Let me know in the chat. I can't do Pythagoras because I don't know two sides, so I have to stick with SOHCAHTOA. It's going to be tan, because the hypotenuse is not involved, and the hypotenuse is not involved in TOA. Here's the formula triangle, and this time I'm trying to find the adjacent, because y is the adjacent. So the adjacent is going to be opposite 4250 divided by tan 24. Okay, 4250 divided by tan 24 equals 9545.656. That'll be enough decimal places, surely. Now, what was the question? The question was, find this length. Well, that length is going to be the difference between 9545.656 and 4557.5670. So I've got the first number on my calculator already, minus 4557.5670 equals 4988.089. Correct to the nearest integer. 4988 or 89? 88. And that is my answer for question 12. Okay. Now, nobody has gone onto the chat and said, look out, you've made a mistake. So I'm hoping I'm okay. 44, that's 48 marks done. Okay, we're almost halfway through. Right. That's absolutely fine to use the sine rule, but because it's a right angle triangle, I was using SOHCAHTOA. Okay. All right. Moving on, or not yet? Yes, Zach, if you just send me a message, I've got a whole film, or you'll find it on the YouTube channel, of questions involving SOHCAHTOA. So it's not a problem, but send me a message to remind me. Okay, that's number 12. Right. Can I move on? Can I move on? Moving on, moving on, moving on. Okay. Right. I'm thinking after this question, we might take a 2-minute break. I might go and get a cup of tea. Okay. So, moving on, moving on. We'll do question 13 and then we'll stop for a couple of minutes. Okay. Right. Okay. So, look at this question here. Is this easy marks? Give me a yes or a no. I'm hoping these are okay marks. Are these okay marks? You know, sorry, the right path. Probably not a good question for me to ask then. But probability trees come up every year, so everybody needs to get to grips with this. Okay, all right. I'm glad to see the yeses, but it's the right path. I'd like to make sure is okay with this. Read the words. The probability that Thomas gets to work early on a Saturday is 0.7. Look at that, 0.7. The probability he's early on a Saturday. So what's the probability he's not early? Come on, Thomas, the right path. Tell me, come on, tell me. If he's 0.7 early, what's the probability he's not early? 0.3, thank you. Okay, I hope you're happy with that right path, but Ferdy got in there before you. Now, if Thomas gets to work early on a Saturday, the probability he'll get to work early on Sunday is 0.9. So if he gets early on a Saturday, the probability he's early on a Sunday is 0.9. Oh, so the probability he's not early on a Sunday would be 0.1, wouldn't it? Hoping you're okay. I don't know what FR means, the right path, but I'm hoping you're happy with this. Now, carry on reading. If Thomas does not get to work early on a Saturday, so we're down here now, when he's not early on a Saturday, the probability he'll be early on a Sunday is 0.6. So 0.6 probability early, so probability not early, 0.4. And I'm thinking that that is the probability tree diagram complete for 2 marks. Okay. Have I made a mistake? Have I made a mistake? Somebody just said that something was different. Are you happy? Okay, well, I don't think I've made a mistake, but somebody can tell me if I have. Okay, thanks, Gracie. Now, work out the probability that Thomas gets to work early on both a Saturday and a Sunday. Well, let's have a look. Early, 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 not early, not early, early, not early, not early. The probability he gets to work early on both a Saturday and a Sunday. Well, that's this possibility, isn't it? And what I do is I multiply down the tree or along the tree. So it's going to be 0.7 times 0.9. So the answer is 0.63. Okay. Now, before we have a minute's break, can we just agree that that's a relatively easy example? This one isn't too difficult, but it's slightly different, I suppose. What about if they said, what's the probability that he is early one day and not early on the other day. Early one day, not early on the other. But we don't care which is which. Yeah, you're right, Mike. So what about if it said probability is one day is early, one day is late? If it was one day is early, one day is late, then you'd be looking at two possibilities, this one and this one. So what you would do there is you would have to work out the probability of that one, 0.7 times 0.1, work out the probability of that one, 0.3 times 0.6, and then you'd add up your two answers. Okay, you're right, Ferdy. I'm hoping the right path is happy with that too. What about last one? What about if he is early on at least one of the days? Early on at least one day. What do we think of that one? Early on at least one day. What would you do? You could do that. You could do this one plus this one plus this one. A quicker method. A quicker method, you're right, Gracie. A quicker method, though, would be just rather than adding up those three yellows, a quicker method would be to do 1 minus the NN. Okay? Now, it doesn't really matter in this case because obviously it doesn't take you long to add up three numbers. But it would matter if there were like 100 possibilities and you wanted all of them except the, and you wanted all these 99, then you'd want to do 1 minus the one you didn't want. Okay. All right. So I am thinking that we've been going for an hour. We are how many questions, how many marks in? We're 52 marks in. Okay. And I am thinking that we're going to take about 2 minutes. All right. Because we don't want to go on all night. So I'm just going to disappear for 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, don't go away. If you want to, I'll tell you what, if I put this on the screen, if you could go to the top of the chat, you'll find the link for the survey. Okay, and you'll also find the link for the paper. Okay, I will see you in a couple of minutes. Oh, can I resend the link? Yes, I can. Let me just resend the link. Here we go. So in the chat, in the hope that you might you might fill in the survey because that will help you as well. You're going to go for your supper. Well, don't take too long about it. Okay, that's the link for the paper. Okay, and here is the link for the survey. Okay, all right. And we will reconvene in a couple of minutes. Okay, everyone? Happy? Right. Why isn't that doing what I thought it would? Okay, folks. How are you doing? Oh my God. Right. Okay. At the end of the video, can you please go through one of the top probability questions? I'll do my best. Let's see what time we finish. Okay. Right. Okay, question 14 we're on now, proportion. Is proportion an easy, is it a, I checked the paper, the last question is very interesting. Good, okay, right. So I'm hoping that you're all back. Hit yes, hit like, tell me you're back, tell me you're ready. Okay. Okay, are we ready? Are we ready? Yes, Ferdy's ready. Anybody else ready? Are you ready to go? Okay, right. B is inversely proportional to the square of D. Right, this is proportion. So fish sign equals find K, use K. There's the little mantra. Here we go. B is inversely proportional to the square of D. B, fish sign, 1 over D squared. Why is it 1 over? Because it's inversely proportional. Why is it D squared? Because it's the square of D. B equals K over D squared. Fish sign equals. No, you don't lose marks, Gracie. I just always do it. Okay. Now, find K. Well, it tells me that B is 0.25 when D is 12. So that means that 0.25 equals K over 12 squared, 144. So now I know that K is 0.25 times 144, 36. So now I can rewrite this as B equals 36 over D squared. Find a formula for B in terms of D. I've done it. 3 marks. Any questions? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you don't lose marks. No, Gracie. Okay. Oh, number 15. It's just algebra. Okay. I'm going to start by expanding these 2 brackets, and later on, I'll multiply whatever I get by 3x. Okay? So, you need to expand these 2 brackets. Now, just so I don't forget, I'm going to have the 3x here. I'm just going to ignore it. So I'm going to go 3x and open a square bracket. And now I'm going to expand the red brackets. I'm trying to do it relatively slowly because I'm kind of hoping you're ahead of me, everybody. Okay? Right. 2x times 5x. 10x squared. 2x times 4. Minus 1 times 5x. Minus 1 times 4. Close the square bracket. So that is 3x. Open the square bracket. 10x squared plus 8x minus 5x plus 3x minus 4. Nice. So now I'll just multiply out that square bracket, I reckon. 3x times 10x squared, 30x squared, plus 9x minus 12. I'm hoping that's right. I keep on... Oh, something's gone wrong. Oh, sorry, another planet. I hope you spotted my mistake. I hope you're shouting at the screen. Because 3x times 10x squared is 30x cubed plus 9x squared minus 12x. All right, now, the reason that I spotted the mistake, I didn't look at the chat, but thank you for spotting it. The reason I spotted the mistake is I looked back up at the question, And do you see how the question says in this form? And I suddenly thought, wait a minute, I haven't got any x cubes. So the moral of the story is, as you come to the end of the question, check what it's asking you to do. Okay? Yeah, I know, Zach. Thanks for your support. Right, okay. Are we moving on now? No, you don't have to retract your message, Zach. Okay, we've all it's a bit late. We've all seen it. All right. Anybody want a hand with 15? Okay. Moving on. Now. Right. Number 16. So, we've got a sector of a circle, center O. Okay. Right. What grade is this? What, number 16, Ferdy? Well, I think this is a relatively difficult question. Okay, let's have a look. Now, that's a sector of a circle, slice of pizza, the angle's 50, and the area of that triangle is 120. You've got to work out the area of the whole of the sector. Now, what you really need to know to work out the area of that sector is you really need to know the radius of the circle. Because if you knew the radius of the circle, then you would do 50 out of 360 times by pi r squared. But we don't know the r. That's the problem, right? But we do know the area of this triangle, of the red triangle. I'm just going to draw the triangle here. So we do know the area of this triangle, and they wouldn't have told us unless they thought it would be useful. That's 50. That's the radius, and that's the radius, right? And we know the area equals 120. Now, you also know that the area of a circle is a half AB sine C times B times sine C. And in this case, that's going to be a half times R times sine 50. And that equals 120. And that formula is the one you need. So now I get R, if I double both sides, I get R squared times sine 50 equals 240. So R squared is 240 divided by sine 50. So R is the square root of that. But let's just do one thing at a time. 240 over, a different calculator, 240 over sine 50 equals, so R squared is 313 point something or other. So R is the square root of that. Square root answer equals 17.700 and so on. So the area of the sector will be 50 out of 360 times pi times that radius squared. Okay? And so now you can work that out. I've got the radius on the screen, square it, I get back to the 313, times by pi, times by, fraction button, 50 over 360, equals, and I get 136.701 and so on, correct to three significant figures, 137. Okay, now, which topic is this? Well, at the top of the paper on the formula sheet, you'll find that there's a section which has got the sine rule and the cosine rule, but it also has the formula for the area of a circle, the sine formula, which is a half AB sine C. And in this question, you had to use this version of the area of a triangle formula because you didn't have a right angle, so you couldn't use base times height. All right. Okay, that's question 16 done. 4 marks. You see, the funny thing about these papers is that you might find you struggled with question 16, But then if you're good at surds, then question 17 is an easier question, right? Or if you're good at whatever this question is going to turn out to be, histograms, okay? So don't assume just because you get one hard question that the rest of the paper is going to be, you're going to find the rest of the paper hard, because you probably find that there's a question coming up that you know how to solve. Okay, right. '17, surds. Can I carry on with surds? I'm feeling like we are, you've got the radius, Zach, so then you have to find the area of the sector of the circle, find the area of the whole circle, and then you know you've got 50 out of 360 of that circle. Right, surds coming up. Right. Okay. We ready? Now, I know that we're getting to the difficult end of the paper, but so far we have had, how many marks we had so far? I don't know where I've, 48, 52, 55, 58. Well, we've had 62 marks already, right? Okay, looking for 55 to get a 7. Okay. Right. Express this in form something times the root of 27. Well, 675, I'm thinking that that must be, 675 must be something times 27. So I'm going to do 675 divided by 27. And I see that it's 25 times 27. So now I can take that 25 out of the square root. So that's going to become 5, because I've got to square root it. It's going to become 5 times root 27. Okay. 55 is about a 7. Yes, Mike. Okay, so that's number 1 done. If only somebody had made a film explaining how the grade boundaries work and working out what the grade boundaries are likely to be, Mike, then you'd know. Leave me a message and I'll send you a link to the film. Right, 5 minus root 2 over root 2 minus 1. What am I going to do to this? I've got to rationalize the denominator. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by what? With any luck, you're shouting out at the screen, but I'm going to multiply, out of 100, that I'm going to multiply top and bottom by root 2 plus 1. Root 2 plus 1. Because the denominator is root 2 minus 1 at the moment. If I multiply it by root 2 plus 1, then I'll have the difference of 2 squares. Right, let's work root 2. 5 times 1 is 5. Minus root 2 times root 2 is minus 2. Minus root 2 times 1 is minus root 2. On the bottom, root 2 times root 2 is 2. Plus a root 2 minus a root 2 minus 1. So on the top, 5 root 2's minus a root 2. 4 root 2's. Plus 5 minus 2 plus 3 over 2. Well, the root 2's go, don't they? So I've just got 2 minus 1. Oh, 2 minus 1 is 1. Look at that. 4 root 2 plus 3 over 1 is just 4 root 2 plus 3. Write it in that form. So it's going to be 3 plus 4 root 2. You don't have to turn it around, I just have. Okay? And that is 4 marks for question 17, which puts us on a total of, I don't know, because I've lost the plot. Here we are, 66. Okay? You can't just, can you just put what in a calculator? If you're talking about part A, possibly is the answer. Yes, I think you can. Root 675, let's try it, equals, yes, you can just put it in a calculator. Oh no, it says 15 root 3. So you can't put it in a calculator because they haven't simplified it completely. So they've got wise to that. Part B, no, you can't just put it in a calculator, I don't think. Okay, and no, you can't, because it says show that this can be written like that. So it wants you to show the steps, I'm afraid, now. Okay, where did I get the 4? I had 5 root 2's minus 1 root 2. So I had 4 root 2's. It's like 5x minus an x is 4x. Okay, this is surds. Well, if I did what you're suggesting, Ferdy, then my root 2's wouldn't disappear at the bottom, so I wouldn't have rationalized the denominator topics. Right, remember in a histogram is the frequency, okay? The area is the frequency. Right, so work out an estimate for the fraction of took between 20 minutes and 60 minutes to complete. So between 20 minutes and 60 minutes. We need to know what fraction is all of this of the whole, okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to work out how many people are in each of these bars. And remember, we do that by working out the area of each bar. For instance, this bar here is 10 wide and 1.5 high. So there are 15 people between 0 and 10. Okay? So we don't need to find the scale because it's given to us in this case, Mike. They've given us the scale and the frequency density. So I can just do 10 times 1.5 for that first bar. Can you work out the rest of the areas? And hence you can work out how many people there are altogether. And hence you can work out what fraction will be what you're after. Okay. Right. So this one is going to be 25 times 0.8. 20. 5 times 4, 20. 30 to 60, so that's 30 by 2.5. 75. And this last one is 5 times 4.6. 23. So now I can work out how many people there are altogether. 15, 20, 20, 75, and 23. $153 altogether. Now, how many of those took between 20 and 60 minutes? Well, it's all of these guys, right? It's all of those guys. And then, is it really a third of those 20? That's odd, I'm thinking. The reason that I'm thinking that's strange is that that's not an issue. So I'm thinking between 20 and 60, is that really 15 times 0.8? Yeah, it is. 15. Ah, sorry, that's not 20. I hope you're telling me in the chat. So this one here is 15 times 0.8, isn't it? 10? Yeah. $12. There are only 12 in there. My mistake. So my 152 is wrong. Okay, so altogether there are 23 plus 75 plus 20 plus 12 plus 15. So altogether there are 145 people. Okay, and all of these people shaded in red are in our time, and we're going to assume there are 4 people there. So 4 plus 20 plus 75. So 4 plus 20 plus 75 gives me 99 out of 145. Okay, happy? Understand my mistake? I understand my mistake. Do you understand my mistake? Yeah, Noah spotted my mistake. Okay, so did some others. Good. Can I zoom in more, please? I'm guessing I've zoomed in now. All right, that's number 18. You work out the frequency by working out the areas of the bars. So I knew how many squares wide it was, and I knew the height because I read off the frequency density. Okay. From 25 to 30, it's not 22, I'm afraid, Mike, because it's 5 wide and it's 4 high. So it's 20. Okay. All right. Moving on to number 19, if we're all happy. Okay. An arithmetic sequence has a first term A and a common difference D. The sum of the first 30 terms. Well, you know a formula for the sum of the terms of a sequence. So it says the sum of the first 30 terms, which, by the way, use the formula on the front of the formula sheet, is 30 over 2 times 2a plus 29d is 4395. Look at that, I've got an equation. The sum of the first 30 terms is that, so that equals that. Okay? The sum of the 10th term and the 20th term is that. So let's look at that one. Now, we need an expression for the 10th term and an expression for the 20th term. Now, the 10th term is a plus 9 differences, and the 20th term is a plus 19 differences. So that is the 10th term plus the 20th term, and we know that that equals 284. Now I've got a second equation with a's and d's, and that red equation will simplify to 2a plus 28d equals 284. Okay, let's go back to that blue equation. The blue equation is 15 times by 2a plus 29d equals 4395. Now, yes, you can multiply out the bracket, right? You can multiply the bracket by 15. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the left-hand side by 15 and the right-hand side by 15. 4395 divided by 15. So now my blue equation has become this one. Here's I'll do them in a different color. I'll write the blue one on the top. Okay, and the red one underneath. Look at that, they've got the same number of a's. So I've got the a's the same, now I'm going to subtract. Minus, minus, minus. 2a minus 2a is nothing. 29d minus 28d. The d is 293 minus 284. 9. The d is 9. So now I'm thinking I can find, where did the 15 come from? Oh, never mind. Okay, as long as you're happy, it came from 30 over 2. Right, I'm going to substitute the d into any one of those equations and find out what a will have to be. Okay, so I'm going to do 293 minus 29 times d, so 29 times 9 equals, divide by 2 equals, and now I know that a is 16. So now I know all about my sequence. I know it starts with a 16, and I know it goes up by 9 each time. Okay? Excellent. Work out, the question says, the sum of the first 45 terms. I'm going to have to use that formula again for the sum, aren't I? The sum of the first 45 terms. 45 over 2 times by 2a plus 44d. But now I know what a and d are. So 22.5 times by twice 16 plus 44 times 9. Okay, well, I can just stick that in my calculator, I suppose. 22.5 times by 32 plus 44 times 9, 428. 22.5 times 428, 9630. Okay, right. What do we think of that question? Sum of the first n terms. And you also needed to know that the 10th term was this and the 20th term was that. Yes, this video will certainly be available. It'll be available as soon as the stream ends, or however long it takes YouTube to process it. Okay. Right, that's number 19 done, and we have done, how many marks now? I've lost track. 66, 70, 75. Crikey, we've done 75 marks worth. Okay. Right. Okay, I think you're right. I think it is doable. I think you might want to practice them. Leave me a comment on this film. Ask me for my sequences film, and I'll send it to you. Okay. All right, Sack and Noah stop scoring points of each other. Right, are we ready for question 19? Anybody, sorry, for question 20. Anybody want a hand with anything? Okay, if you're sure. Right, what mark is an 8 or a 9? I can't remember what the grade boundaries are. I'll have a look for you. Right, number 20. Right, where did I get the formula from? Well, one of the formulas is at the front, and the other formula, I'm afraid you just have to know that if you're after the 10th, okay, for example. Right, I'm moving on to question 20. The curve with that equation has a minimum point. I'm thinking we are going to be doing some differentiation here. If you are somebody who is doing a different GCSE board, not doing IGCSE, then you don't have to do differentiation. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. No, sorry, my screen is going weird. Right, here we are. A curve with this equation has a minimum point. Find the equation of the tangent to the curve at the minimum point. Show clear algebraic working. Right, I need to find out where the minimum point is. So I'm going to differentiate, and then I'm going to set that differential equal to 0. 4 2s are 8, knock 1 off the power. That's 64 times x to the power 1. So 1 times 64 is 64, and the x is x to the power 0, so forget it. That's my gradient function. At the minimum point, the gradient will be 0. So I have to solve this equation to work out the x-coordinate of the minimum point. Oh, look at that. The x-coordinate of the minimum point is 2. Okay. I wonder what the y-coordinate is of the minimum point. Minus 64x. By the way, if you're thinking, God, I can't do this, stick with it, because you might find the next question is one that you can do. 2 times 2 to the power of 4 minus 64 times 2 minus 92. So the minimum point of this curve is at the point 2 minus 92. Let's just picture this. Here it is. It's a curve with a minimum, right? So let's just draw a curve with a minimum. That minimum point has coordinates 2 minus 92. So here's the axes. And this point is here, minus 92, right? And here 2. I'm going to draw the tangent to the curve at the minimum point, because that's the line that we need to find the equation of. The tangent to the curve, it's going to be horizontal, like that. And it goes through the y-axis at minus 92. So that blue line's equation is simply y equals minus 92. And that is the equation of the tangent to the curve at the minimum point. Where did I get the minus 92, Noah? I knew that the minimum point was when x was 2, and so I substituted x equals 2 back into the equation to find out what the y coordinate would have been. All right. Got x is 4. I don't know how you managed that. I had 8x cubed minus 64 equals 0 and solved that equation. Ah, you've worked it out. Good. How do I know it's horizontal, not vertical? Because, Gracie, if the curve has a minimum point, then it's going to look like that, right? There's the minimum point. And I know it's the tangent to the curve at the minimum point. If it was vertical, it wouldn't be a tangent to the curve. It would be the perpendicular bisector of the curve. If it just catches, it's just going to have to be that one. All right, that's a tangent. Okay. Now, for some people, you'll think, oh, I can do this question, and you'll go for all the marks. For other people, it'll be a question of saying, I'm going to get a mark for differentiating. I'm going to get a mark for setting the differential equal to 0, because I know I'm looking for the minimum point. Okay, and take it from there. If you got 96, then I have a feeling that you didn't do 2 times 2 to the 4 minus 64 times 2 correctly on your calculator, unless I made a mistake. Yeah, it's twice 2 to the power 4, though. Look at the formula, 2x to the power 4. Okay, is that? All right. So I'm going to move on in a moment. Any more questions? And you only say y value. Well, the thing is, it's a horizontal line, Gracie. So it's going to have a horizontal line has an equation y equals wherever it crosses, doesn't it? Okay. All right. It's minus 96, is it? 2 times 2 to the power of 4. It's not been a good night for me so far. Minus 64 times 2. Oh, it's minus 96. Sorry. Thank you very much. It's minus 96. Minus 96. Y is minus 96. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your corrections. Okay. It's been a long day. Can I move on to 21? Okay. All right. Happy? Okay. Tell me I can move on. Give me a yes or a no, please. Give me a yes or a no. And number 21 is about bounds. Here you are, you see. We do some really tricky stuff, and then they throw in a topic that everyone can get part marks on. So can we do bounds? Are we ready for bounds? Question 21. Okay. Right. Okay, good. Now, okay, I seem to be getting to a bit of YouTube problems at the moment because I need to confirm my identity, and to do that I need to find my phone. So I just need to go and find my phone now, okay? Okay, I'm just going to be a couple of minutes. Okay, right. I think it now believes it's me. Okay, right. Right. We need to work our way through question 21. All right. Are you ready? So this is a bounds question. We're always going to do the same thing. We're going to ignore the question, and we're just going to write down the upper and the lower bound of each of our variables. So x is 28.4 to 1 decimal place. So we're just going to work out the upper bound and the lower bound. We're not going to think about anything else, because if we just concentrate on doing this one thing, 17 to 2 significant figures, 17.5 and 16.5, if we just concentrate on doing this one thing, then we're more likely to get it correct. And something else that's important, I'll tell you in a minute. Correct to the nearest 5, halve the 5, 2.5, 92.5, and minus the 2.5, 87.5. Why have I just concentrated on doing that? 2 reasons. First of all, I'm more likely to get it right. And secondly, if I make a mistake and get it wrong, then okay, I'll lose a mark for getting something wrong here. But the examiner will see what I've done, and then when I carry through the wrong number, I'll get all the follow-through marks. Okay? All right. Okay. Right, here we go. Calculate the upper bound for the value of t. Now I'm just going to do one thing and nothing else. I'm going to write down the equation for t. And it wants the upper bound. So I'm going to say, right, I want the upper t. And then I'm going to think, right, what does that mean? Well, it means I want the top to be as high as possible. So I'll choose the highest and the highest. And it means I want the bottom to be as low as possible. So I'll choose the lowest. And that's all I've done. And now, and only now, and I'm going to put in the numbers. Okay? Because then, one when actually it should have been the higher one, I'll still get follow-through marks with the stuff I've done right. 28.45 squared plus 17.5 squared all over the 0.5 squared all over 87.5 equals. Give my answer correct to 3 sig figs. Write enough of the answer down so the examiner knows what you've got, and then write it to 3 significant figures, 12.8. And that is my answer for question 21. Okay. Anybody got any questions about that one? Okay. Did you get it? Did you get it? Say yes or no. Tell me if you've got a question. Yep, 12.8. Absolutely, I agree. Okay. Anybody got anything they want to ask? Right. Are we all happy with this? Okay. What I usually round down, I usually round my 5 down. Is that wrong? I don't understand what you're asking me, I'm afraid. Okay. Right. 22 coming up. Are we ready for 22? Right. Now, I'm not sure my connection is great. Oh, no. Let's see. Okay. Thank you, Gracie. So if you've got something rounded to the nearest 5, for instance, if something is 90 to 5, then how high could you go? If, for instance, you thought it could be 94, well, 94, if you rounded 94 to the nearest 5, you'd round it to 95. So you have to go, your cutoff here is halfway between 90 and 95, so 92.5. So the rule of thumb is if you're rounding to the nearest 10, say, you go 5 up, 5 down. So you do half of what you're rounding to, up and down. Okay? Right. You're good, sir, but what is the question? I don't understand. We're doing number 22. Here we go. The diagram shows a bowl in the shape of a hemisphere. The bowl is made from metal. The outer radius of the bowl is 12. The inner radius of the bowl is 9. The thickness of the bowl is uniform, so it's the same thickness all the way through. Work out the volume of the metal. Right. we are going to need the formula for the volume of a sphere. And the formula for the volume of a sphere is written at the top of the exam paper. Okay, and it is, I can never remember it, it is, the volume of a sphere is, volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. So, I don't know how you think you might go about this one. I know what I would do. What I would do is I would find the volume of the whole thing, and then I'd find the volume of the bit we're cutting out, and then I'd do the volume of the green minus the volume of the red. Okay, you wouldn't get a mark for just writing the equation, Zach, but you might get a mark for writing the equation with the radius filled in. You don't need to remember this formula because it's on the top of the paper on the front of the formula sheet. Volume of the green and subtract the volume of the red. But when you do that, remember you're just with a whole sphere. So you're going to want to do. If you need to move on, then move on. Okay, right. So the formula of that green, the volume of that green hemisphere is going to be, because we're dealing with a hemisphere, I'm just going to do, you could do 4/3 pi r cubed and then divide it by 2 if you wanted to. So the volume of this green one is 2/3 times pi times 12 cubed. The volume of the red one is 2/3 times pi times 9 cubed. So what you've got, so I'm going to put it all in my calculator at once. 2/3 times pi cubed minus 2/3 times pi times 9 cubed, and press equals. And it gives me 666 pi, but it wants the answer correct to the nearest whole. Press S to D, 2092.300, so to the nearest whole number, 2092, and that is my answer. Okay. I don't have to do this, Verdi, no, because all I'm doing is I'm doing the volume of that green hemisphere, and then I'm subtracting the volume of the red, and that just leaves me with the bowl left over. Okay? All right. So, one, I'm going to move on. You can always go back. Now the question is a really difficult question. I think when I had a quick flip through the paper before we started, I thought that one is the most difficult question on the paper. I reckon the reason that I did 2/3 rather than 4/3 was because 4/3 is the area of a whole sphere, and I've only got half a sphere. Okay, it's the difference between the volume of a whole orange and half an orange. Okay, thank you for hitting like, folks. I've got 23, and I've got 24, which is vectors. Crikey, and we've got one more, 25. We need to crack on, really. Okay, so here we go. 23. Right. A curve has this equation. All right. The straight line L has that equation. So this first curve, by the way, is going to look something like that, right? And y equals k, that's going to be a horizontal. C and L, this is C, this is L, intersect at the points A and B. The coordinates of point A are PK. The coordinates of point B are QK. You see, they're both K up, because if this is your axis here, there's your y-axis, that's your x-axis, this is K. Given that P minus Q is 14. Well, if it's P minus Q is 14, then I'm thinking that this one should be P and that one should be Q, but it doesn't make much odds. Given that P minus Q is 14, find the value of K. All right, now this is really tricky. Well, I found it tricky. I'm finding it tricky, but what I'm thinking is as follows. You know how PK and QK are both on this line, are both on that curve. So I'm going to write down the equation of the curve. Y equals x squared minus 8x minus 9. And I know that the point PK lies on this curve. So I know that when x is P, y is K. So I know that K must equal P squared minus 8P minus 9. What I've done is I've taken the equation for the curve and I've substituted in the value of P and the value of K for x and y, because I know that that point is on the curve. And I can do exactly the same with the point QK. So K will be Q squared minus 8Q minus 9. So there are two equations, but unfortunately, they've got three unknowns in them, K, P, and Q. But not only do you know that those 2 points lie on that line, you also know that P minus Q is 14, i.e. P is 14 plus Q. So you can take this expression, the 14 plus Q, and shove it in here instead of these P's. So K, try again. Instead of P squared, I'm going to say 14 plus Q squared. And instead of 8 times P, I'm going to say 8 times 14 plus Q minus 9. So there's one equation for K. And my other equation for K is this red one. K equals Q squared minus 8Q minus 9. Well, look at this. K equals this, and K equals that. K equals yellow, and K equals blue, so yellow equals blue. Or to put it another way, 4 plus Q, all squared, minus 8, 14 plus Q, minus 9 equals, that's the yellow, equals the blue. And now I've got an equation I can solve, and look what we're saying is that this should be there. Okay. I'm now going to expand this bracket. 14 plus Q squared. Well, that's 14 times 14, which is 196, plus 28Q, plus Q squared, minus 8 times 14. It's really nice. You can use a calculator so much. 112 minus 8Q minus 9 equals Q squared minus 8Q minus 9. Right. Now, can I simplify the left-hand side? Let's have a look. I've got a Q squared. 28Q minus 8Q gives me just 20Q. And then I've got 196 minus 112, 196 minus 112 minus 9. 75 equals Q squared minus 8Q minus 9. Look at that, I can minus q squared from both sides, can't I? So 20q plus 75 equals minus 8q minus 9. It's just an equation with q's on both sides. See which side has the least and get rid of them. I'm going to add 8q to both sides. 28q plus 75 equals minus 9. 28q equals minus 84. Oh, I'm hoping 84 is divisible by 28. It is, it goes in 3 times. So q is minus 3. K. Because I know, look at this, that k is q squared minus 8q minus 9. So k will be q squared minus 3 squared minus 8 times minus 3 minus 9. 9 minus 24 minus 9. K will be minus 24. And that is my solution. You don't have to record it. The recording will appear on YouTube. Okay. So you don't need to. You knew that P minus Q was 14 because it tells me that in the question. So that enabled me to get an expression for P, which then I was able to substitute in. Okay. Okay, Gracie. See you later. Thanks for coming. Okay. Right, this topic is called coordinate geometry. If you want lots of examples of coordinate geometry films, then you can leave me a message on the film and I will send you a link. Okay. Right. 2 more questions to go. Vectors coming up. Okay. Vectors coming up. My screen isn't focusing very well. I think my computer's had enough today. Right. Now here is a question on which you could get lots of part marks. Okay. And the first thing to do is going to be to label the diagram with the information from the question. I know what you mean, Noah. I thought that was a very difficult question 23. Okay. However, vectors is a topic which lots of people will be more practiced on. Okay. Right, let's take a deep breath. Let's look at this diagram. It says O to A is 10A. So let's write that on. 10A. O to B is 10B. 10B. Okay. Right. Those are straight lines. And then it says AP is a quarter of AB. So I'm going to write a little 1 here and a little 3 there, just to remind myself that AP is a quarter of the whole thing. Okay? And OQ is a fifth of OB. Well, that's a bit easier, look, because OB is 10B, so a fifth of that is just going to be 2B. So that's 2B there, and the other section of that line is going to be 8B, because then OQ is a fifth of OB. All right? So far, what I've done is I have taken the information from the question and written it on the graph. Happy? Now, write the following vectors in terms of A and B. A to Q. We've got to go from A to Q. Well, if I was going from A to Q, then I would probably go A to O and then O to Q. Now, A to O is minus 10A plus O to Q is 2B. So I'm thinking that A to Q would just be minus 10A plus 2B. And there is a mark. Okay? All right. Shall we do O to P now? Maybe you can get ahead of me. Why don't you do O to P? All right, I'll start it slowly here. It would probably, if it were me, I'd probably go OA and then plus OP. But OP is a quarter of AB. So now I'm thinking, what is AB? Well, OA is 10A plus a quarter of AB. Well, A to B is minus 10A plus 10B. So I'm going to carry on simplifying. 10A minus 5A plus 5B. So that is 5A plus 5B. Okay, FB, thanks for coming. Okay, right. Now, so I reckon I've got AQ now, and I reckon I've got OP. All right. I don't know Zach without looking at the grade boundaries. Now, right. So here we go. Here's a proper challenge because we don't know where R is. So we're going to have to take two routes for OR. Is a certain fraction of the way to P. So X of OP. All right, let's just work out what that'll be. X times. Oh, you know OP already. We just worked it out, haven't we? 5A plus 5B. 5XA plus 5XB. Okay, that's one route. The next route I'm going to take for OR is going to be R. OA is 10A, and AR is a certain fraction y of AQ. Now that's quite handy because I've already worked out AQ. So it's 10A plus y of, and AQ is minus 10A plus 2B. So that is 10A minus 10YA plus 2YB. I'm just going to pause for a moment, hoping that you're okay with this so far. Now, how many A's have I got here? Well, I've got 10 minus 10y, and I've got 2YBs. Okay. How did I get O to P? I did that in part 2. Okay. So then I just copied it in when I was doing this red route. Now, because the blue and the red are both expressions for the same journey, it's a journey from O to R, the number of A's in the blue must be the same as the number of A's in the red. So 5x must equal 10 minus 10y. And the number of B's in the blue must be the same as the number of B's in the red. So 5x must also equal 2y. So now I'm thinking that I can solve these equations simultaneously. I've got 5x equals 10 minus 10y and 5x equals 2y. So I can just say 10 minus 10y equals 2y. So I can just say that 10 equals 12y. So I can just say that y equals 10 over 12 or 5 over 6. Okay. And now 2y is twice 5 over 6. So 2y is 10 over 6. And that equals 5x. So I'll just divide that by 5. Gives me a third. So x is a third. And now I can find OR. 5xa plus 5xb, and x is a third. So 5/3 of a plus 5/3 of b. Now, I'm a bit suspicious of this, and I have to say I'm wondering if I've made a mistake somewhere along the line. Okay, let me just check. AQ. Yeah, AQ looks right. AP is a quarter of that. OQ is a fifth of that. Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that I think that I've got this right, but I'm a bit suspicious of my answer. So I might later on go and look at the mark scheme, and then I might have to put up a correction film if I have made some Horlicks somewhere. O to P is a quarter of AB, and AB is minus 10. Yeah, I'm thinking. Oh, come on, everybody. Look. Why did you let me get away with this? Look, that says a quarter, and I've copied it down as a half. Okay? So, I blame you lot, not me. Okay, so I'm going to put a correction film up of this question because we've made a mistake here. Look at that. Okay, I knew it seemed a bit easy. All right, so all my method is utterly correct. I've just copied down a half when I meant to copy down a quarter. Okay, so let me move that bottom. Let me move that up for you, Ferdy. But however, the error on the left of the screen. Okay, and I'll put a correction film up. But the method is perfectly okay. All right. The method is perfectly okay. But it's 8:10. I'm going to move on. Okay, but let's just be clear that I've made an error in number 24. Okay. However, only Ferdy spotted it. Well done, Ferdy. We've got f of x equals 2x squared minus 24x plus 7. Yes, I do. All you need to do, Mike, is send me a message or put a message on a film and I'll send you a link. Right. Inverse functions. Here we go. I have to say, I'm feeling like I've got to crack on and end this live. It's time. I've had enough. I can't even copy down 24 correctly. Look, I've written 12. 24x plus 7 when x is greater than or equal to 6. So this is the last question. Yes, right path. And are we pleased? Yes, we are. Now, I've got to find the inverse function. So I start by writing y equals the function. And now I'm going to make x the subject of this expression. In order to make x the subject, I'm going to need to complete the square. And in order to complete the square, I want a single x squared. So that is how I'm going to start, because now I have a single x squared. I agree with you, right path. 2, open square brackets. I'm now going to complete the square on this. X minus 6 squared minus 36. Close the square bracket, copy down the plus 7. Y equals 2 lots of x minus 6 squared minus 72 plus 7. Y equals 2 lots of minus 6, x minus 6 squared minus 65. And now I'm in a position to make x the subject. All right. To make x the subject, I'm going to add 65 to both sides. Y plus 65. Y plus 65 equals 2 lots of x minus 6 squared. Divide both sides by 2. Y plus 65 over 2 equals x plus 6, x minus, I did it again, x minus 6 squared. I'm going to turn this round now and say x minus 6 squared equals, come on, I'm going to turn this round and say x minus 6 squared equals y plus 65 over 2. And now I'm going to square root both sides. X minus 6 equals plus or minus the square root of that. And now I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of this. Right, now I'm going to take a breath for a minute. Okay. Is it always a minus inside the bracket? Are you referring to this minus here? In which case, yes, it is, because you're going to get a number to subtract. Right, those functions always come up, is the answer to your question. So I've got x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of y plus 65 over 2. Now listen, at the top, it said that x had to be greater than 6. So I'm going to need to remember that in a minute. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write now that the inverse function will equal, and I'm going to write this down, but instead of the y, I'm going to put it in as an x. 6 plus or minus the square root of x plus 65 over 2. Now I'm going to remember that x had to be greater than the square root of x plus 65 over 2. And that is my 4 marks on the last question. Okay. Zach, if you're asking why is it x minus 6, it's x minus 6 because on the line above it's minus 12x. Okay, so it would have to be minus 6 in the square to give you minus 12x if you multiplied it out. Okay, right. I am feeling like that is the end of the paper, which is a huge relief to me. Okay, I'm very happy to answer any more questions, all right? But I'm going to go away for a couple of minutes and then I'm going to come back and I'll answer any questions. It's minus 36 because, yes, it would, Zach. And I get the minus 36 because I've got to subtract away the 6 squared. Right. I am going to go away for a couple of minutes and I will come back. And if you're still here, I'm very happy to answer your questions. In the meantime, how was that for you? Perhaps you could tell me in the comments. And if you haven't filled in that survey, please would you fill in the survey? Okay, I'm literally going to be 30 seconds, then I'm coming back. Okay, right, I'm back. The survey I was talking about is the one which is at the top of the chat. Okay, I'm pleased, Zach. Well done. That's very good. Right, I'm going to put the link to the survey right now in the chat for anybody who hasn't filled it in. And if you are, so it would really help me to help you if you gave. Right. Oh, you're off now. Okay, thanks very much. I'm happy to hang on and answer any questions if anybody would like me to answer any questions. I'm going to stop sharing, okay, because that might help my computer out. Okay, gosh, I'm quite large on the screen now. Okay, now here is the link to the survey. If you haven't filled in the survey, please do. Right, there are 13 of us online. How can I help anybody? I tell you what, just let me start by telling you that in between paper 1 and paper 2, I will be producing a film that tells you what topics we expect to come up on paper 2. And then you can spend that 3-week period between paper 1 and paper 2 cracking on with that. Thirdly, do I do A-level? No, I don't do A-level films, but next year I'm starting a year 12 study group. So if you are you going on to A-level maths, Ferdy? I'm imagining you must be, otherwise you wouldn't be asking. So the great problem with year 12s for me is that my year 12s at school don't spend enough time on the maths out of class. So I'm starting a year 12 study group where we'll do an hour and a half each week. And most of that time, Some of the time will be me running through some topics, and also it'll give you a chance to ask questions about what you're doing in school. And also, I reckon that of the 90 minutes, there'll always be a 20-minute section where you just crack on with your own work and ask me a question. So Ferdy, fill in the form, fill in the survey, give me your email address, and I will write to you when I write to everybody else about that. Okay? It was completing the square, yes. That was the method there. Okay, anybody else here doing A-level next year? There are 13 of us left. Who's doing A-level next year? Ferdy is. Anybody else? That sounded quite definite. No. Anybody else going to do maths this year? Next year, rather. Okay. Okay, well, if you are doing maths next year, definitely fill in the survey, definitely give me your email address. But frankly, you should give me your email address anyway, because I can help you out as far as your GCSEs go. Does anybody else have any questions, or shall we call it quits? I'll tell you what, before you go, give me, just in the chat, mention any topics that you would like some help with, and I can send you some links. Actually, no, don't do it in the chat. Once the film comes out, do it in the comments of the film, and then I can reply to your comment. Okay, shall we call it quits? Anybody else got anything to ask? Yes, I hope so, Ferdy, but get yourself on my mailing list by giving me your email address, filling in that form, and then I'll write to you. I'll send you a quick email if we're doing another live. Okay, I'm hoping to. All right, shall we call it quits? Are we done? Does anyone have anything else they want to ask? Not at all. Thank you for coming. Okay, I'm going to sign out, and I'll see you next time. Okay. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Good luck.